Okay, as I said, you got the channel locks. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to put that on there. I'm just going to grab this thing. There we go. Wow. One little thing like that could end up basically making an engine useless if somebody really over torques things. Okay, so this doesn't look too bad. Got an idle bar plug. I'm not really sure I would ever use an idle bar plug on that. I hope that's not an indication of bad things, because a lot of times these engines don't have the room to run an idle bar plug, and it could damage the piston. Certainly Enya plugs don't have idle bars on them. So I wonder if I'm going to be able to get that little washer out. It's probably caked in there. Yeah, no worries, we'll get it out when we get the head off. Let's see here. So this rocker arm area is, there's two set screws here that screw down into the pin that actually goes in here, and they either set in a flat. Yeah, this one's got a flat. So we'll remove these. I think maybe even a smaller one than that. Okay, so it's in there. That wasn't torqued too much, which is a good thing. I may end up having to go and get some oil. Kind of oil some of this stuff down, because running these set screws up is one thing. They should be clear of the flat now, but then since this whole area looks really dry, pushing that thing, that screw out, or that pin out, it's probably going to need a little assistance. So I'm going to have to get a little bit of 3-in-1 oil and probably spray it on there and let it sit for a little bit. Okay, so I put a little bit of 3-in-1 oil just on this little mechanism here. I didn't want to put a whole lot in there because I kind of want to keep it looking the way it was. So I just kind of move this around a little bit. I'm just going to take, see if I can get these, try and get the push rods at their lowest point. I'm just going to take a small screwdriver here. Actually, I don't want to use that because that's a magnet. I just want to break it loose. Not necessarily drive it out. I just want to at least break that loose, that little bond that it's got there. So if I can just kind of break that loose like I just did there, now I can a little more carefully push that pin out. As you can see now, that pin's coming out now. Oh, there came my gasket. Luckily it's not damaged. We'll put that in the bin. Okay, so in the middle here there's a spring. I want to be careful I don't lose that, and there's usually a center collar piece too, so I'll push this thing out. That's still kind of tight, but okay, so there's our pin. It's out. You can see, and the one end is completely cut off and flat. The other end is just cut out so that that set screw can go in there. This whole pin here is going to have to be, I'll probably sand it down or use some emery cloth on it. Clean that up real nice so it's nice and smooth. Let's see here, we've got just a spring. That's interesting. There's usually a little metal piece. At least I think there was on my 46. Maybe this one's different. Usually like a metal piece that kind of goes in between there, but you know, maybe I'm mistaken right now. So anyway, the rocker arms are identical. I'm not too concerned about getting them mixed up because I'm going to be resetting the valves eventually anyway. So this rocker arm holder assembly is held down by these two screws that need to come out next. One of the nerve-wracking things about disassembling these used engines is how much torque is it going to take, and are you going to end up hosing up the heads of the fasteners. Luckily it doesn't look like anybody's been inside this engine before, so I'm the first one to be trying to take it apart, so it's only my responsibility if I hose the fasteners up. Alright, so there's a little bit of gunk inside there. I'll pull these push rods out. Again, they're symmetrical. There's no tapered in, there's no intake, no exhaust. They're both the same, so they can get mixed up. Okay, so there you have it. So the next thing now would be to pull the head off, and it's just these 4 screws here. Head screws can tend to be a little interesting for the aforementioned reasons of torque and that type of thing, but looks like I'm in there pretty good. I like to feel that. It feels like it's that snapping sound is what it should feel like from the factory. So I'm pretty confident in saying that, crack, snap, that this head has never been off before. So that's cool. Looks right now like I'm looking at a fairly low runtime engine. It's probably never been disassembled before, which is always a nice thing, but I have to go through this exercise of disassembling and cleaning this because I just don't want to go and run an engine that looked as nasty on the outside as this one and hope that everything's well inside and, you know, risk damaging it more. I just don't want to do that, so that's why I'm going through this exercise, in addition to the fact that I just love taking engines apart anyway. So we're all up here. This one's completely out also. This one's out, so we should be able to just gently take this head off. Oh, dummy. So there's a fifth screw. It's right down here. So let's see if this thing is long enough to get in there, and luckily it is. And you know, this is the second time I've opened up an Enya engine like that that I thought I was the first one in, and it didn't feel like there was any torque on that screw at all, and I'm almost kind of wondering if that's just an issue they had in production, because there was like next to no torque on that at all. Alright, so now that comes off quite easily. Let's just pull these push rod tubes off. Again, symmetrical, they can get fixed up. It's good to see these O-rings are dry, but with some oil they should be okay. I can see the tappets in there. They're moving, so they're not froze up. You can see the piston is moving. Look at that. I haven't even touched the top of that piston. I haven't wiped it, touched it, nothing. And it's pretty darn clean. I mean, there's a little bit of particulates there, but for the most part, that's a pretty darn clean looking piston head there. A little oil on it and kind of do something like that. You can even get a little piece of paper towel here. Use that oil to help clean it off, bring it down here and kind of pretty nice and clean in there. Okay, so that part's done. And we saw what the head looked like. Now these screws are going to drop out when I flip it upside down, but I always like to kind of, it's like the unveiling. You can look at the top of the piston and tell a little bit. I mean, usually a piston on a 4-stroke engine isn't going to start turning brown or getting a carbon buildup for, you know, I don't know, numerous runs. So this could have run, 5-6 runs on it and still look like that. I mean, so that's not a big deal, but the valves is really where you can start to tell what's been going on with the engine. So I'm just going to turn it over, and there's the first look at our valves. It has been run, clearly. As you can see, the exhaust valve's got some carbon on it. Not a lot. Let's see how the action is. They seem to move okay. Actually, you know, if you look closely, there's quite a bit of carbon buildup on that exhaust valve. So it has some runtime on it for sure. But I mean, compare that exhaust valve to the top of the piston, and you'd think they came from 2 different engines, because I can actually see and feel the flakiness of the carbon on that. So I think what I'm going to do here real quick is, I've got a semi-clean paper towel here. got these screws out. 4 of them. Where's the 5th one at? There's the 5th screw. They're all the same length, not a problem. Put them in the bin. I'm just going to spray some of this LA's Totally Awesome cleaner on there. And if I can find where I had my little toothbrush, back over here. I'll give it a little scrub here real quick and we'll see. See what goes on here. I haven't hit that area yet, but there's just a couple. You saw what I did there, just a 30 seconds or so of a little bit of scrubbing there. I could clean that up a little bit better, and I will. I'll probably actually pull these valves out completely just to demonstrate the procedure for removing the valves on an Enya engine. In fact, as long as I'm here doing this, I'm going to get my little nasty bin here. This stuff isn't going to hurt any of these parts, so I'm not really too worried about that. What I'll usually do now is when I start cleaning areas like this, I'll take it outside and spray it down with alcohol real good and then blow it off with the air compressor as I'm trying to dry it at the same time. This Totally Awesome cleaner will also eat the rest of that, loosen up the rest of that gasket material and get that off of there. Okay, so I've got some O-rings up here too, which is a good thing. I don't think this cleaner is going to hurt them. I'm going to go blow this off and dry it off a little bit. It should be good to go.